All right, there we go. What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Vagabond Dog Industry Chats. This week we've got Max Ponoroff, the creative director, genius, what do we want to call it, behind Starstruck, Hands of Time, the uh, the game we played this morning that you guys all watched. But it is, as I can best describe, a um, narrative focused. Well, I mean, I guess it is a rhythm. It's a weird game. I'm sorry. It is a strange game to try and put into a box, but I'll do my best. There are sections of it where you are on a very traditional sort of RPG narrative adventure. There are parts of it where you are in a uh, Katamari-esque style whimsical destruction scene. Uh, there are parts of it where you are using a plastic guitar to rock out as hard as you can in a rhythm game, and all of it comes together into a wonderful experience that absolutely had me to. Oh, and yes, and Empress, thank you. One part, terrifying horror nightmare. um, uh, that yes, hee ha, time to go in the cave. Um, very great experience. We really did enjoy the game quite a lot this morning, and I enjoyed it even my second time through. So welcome to the show. It's great to have you here, and I'm looking forward to picking your brain on all the little details.
Yeah. Thanks for having me on. Thanks for playing it, and I'm glad you liked it. Yeah, it's a little all over the place. Sorry about that,
No,
but
it's we need more weird games, strange games, unique games.
yeah,
That's the right term.
it, it's weird when people say, "Oh, this game's so weird." It's like I think, well, this is just how I like. This is the kind of games I grew up with, so to me, it's not that weird. It's kind of normal. But I guess maybe some people didn't grow up with the same kinds of games, so maybe it's really weird to them, or maybe just they're comparing it to other kinds of games or something.
I mean, I think I grew up with those games, just not all at once in one in one box.
Uh,
Um, like
yeah.
like so I mean, like let's talk. I guess, I mean, the influences, I guess, if we're on the topic, like, where did the games start from, and what influenced you into creating it, and why?
So the top three influences that I think about are number one, Love Day Lick games, and that includes people who were former Love Day Lick staff. So stuff like Tulip, Moon, which just came out. It was re-released just this year. Um, other games in that family, and UFO Day in the Life, also one of them, is a big one. So there's that. Those Most of those games are Japanese only games. They came out in like the 90s or early 2000s. And so there's that. Then Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, the TV show. I actually didn't grow up watching that show, but I've watched it a lot as research. I didn't watch it
Interesting.
as a kid, but now I love the show, and it's very interesting. Um, and number three would be movies by Jacques Tati, like Playtime and Mon Oncle. Some of the funniest movies ever. They're like these French movies from like the 60s or 70s or 50s. And they're sort of like, they're maybe someone could say they're not really that similar to Starstruck, but they're sort of like silent comedy funny. They're very funny, but they're taken to like a very high level where it really becomes like really interesting. Like it becomes really high art. Like I just watched it like last week. I watched Playtime. I'll say it. I watched for the fifth time. I still cried at the ending. Those movies are very powerful to me.
Interesting.
So those are my top three influences, I'd say.
Interesting. And so, what was your position in games before you started working on this? Had you been a developer previously? Is this your first project? Did you just decide one day to start doing this? What and why?
My position was a player.
Right.
Yeah, I've never worked in games before at all, so this is my first introduction to it.
Well, that's a pretty damn strong first introduction. Um, I I can respect that a lot. So coming off as a player, then like what made you want to make a game?
Well, everyone wants to do that, right? I mean, I mean, as a game developer, like everyone wants to be a game developer, right? I mean, it's not that rare of a thing, I don't think. Uh, I mean, there are probably lots of reasons why people want to do it. One for me, like I in my professional experience was being a software engineer, and which was pretty good job. But yeah, there's no opportunity for do stuff like try to make people laugh or tell a story, or I one of the best parts about Starstruck for me has been getting to meet some creative people who are real artists. I'm just really a programmer, but some of the real artists like not program, like real artists like composers and modelers, and even the people who like the clay figure sculptor. I didn't really get to do that in my previous job, so those are things I was looking for to, I don't know, a little more creative energy.
No, I can feel you with that. Like one of the most rewarding especially when you're a creative lead on a project, is one, wrangling talent together that like you respect and admire, is like you're like, oh man, I love this person's music, I love this person's visual art.
Yeah.
What if I could just like stick them together in a super tasty sandwich, and I'll be the bread if it's necessary. Um, but also like affording them the opportunity to create things. Like a lot of times there are artists too waiting on opportunities to create new things and getting new creations out of people. Um, I'm curious then, how did you go about, if you're coming in as a player without any real game dev experience, or had you integrated into any game dev communities previously, or how did you go around finding people to work with and like charting the course for creating this very sort of mixed bag of arts?
Yeah. So the lead composer and the lead artist, Andrew and Brian Allenson, I had met them at a convention and then gotten to talking with them. And they kind of encouraged me to maybe go down this path, and they were interested in collaborating. So it sort of started there. And then I think based really on the strength of their art and music, I was able to find more people who were interested in being part of the project.
Right. Yeah, that whole lightning rod of talent attracts talent kind of thing. Um,
I guess so, yeah.
it's so did you have like a strong idea of like this visual style ahead of time through viewing their art, or like where did that claymation style come from?
The claymation style, it came from, well, number one, like if you think about some of the stuff I mentioned before, like Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, there's sort of a miniature aspect to that, right?
Mm-hmm.
And if you think about those other games I mentioned, Love Dilic, they often use miniatures. So I already thought it was kind of cool to use that, but also the more I thought about the story, it's not just something to look cool. It's really part of the story. Like the story, to me, the story doesn't make sense if I don't do that. So the idea was to start just to have the world on the surface is like a miniature fake diorama, and that was really all I sort of said. And then the artist, Brian, really took it from there and made it look really beautiful. But yeah, and um, that was sort of style. And also for the indoor areas, I've been doing the lighting on those lately, and I try to light it to make it look like a pre-rendered PS1 kind of pre-rendered background, to make it look like even more fake. Like it's already a fake diorama, but just try to make it even more fake. But yeah, so a lot of it came from, well, I already thought it was kind of cool, and then also it's really about the story.
So I mean, is that desire for the artifice of it, the diorama style, the way you're doing the lighting, is that because of the framework of it sort of being a simulation inside the shuttle? Like why is why is there so much focus on that?
No, it's not a simulation inside the shuttle. It's what's going on the surface. But why is it like that? I mean, it seems kind of improper for me to explain
Right.
like too much stuff in detail.
Yeah, fair.
But is there any way I can sort of hint at it? I don't know.
I mean, if it's going to be major spoilers or
It's
something, we can move right. Move
it's
along.
not major spoiler. It's not major spoilers, but it might be saying too much. But yeah, I think it's very important to the story, like
Okay.
in terms of yeah,
What it's trying to communicate. Okay.
sort of, yeah.
Well, then let's talk a little bit more about achieving that aesthetic. Then, a lot of people who when we were playing, they were very curious about like, um, were things modeled in clay and then 3D scanned? Is everything made in ZBrush with a lot of nice attention to detail on the bump maps and everything? Like, what was the process like for the I guess for the core characters? I noticed some differences between like some NPCs and some of the core characters and little different plastic elements and what was the process?
So I yes, I've a number of people have like said that to me. Like, is it like scanned somehow or something? Like, what's going on? Like, um, well, obviously some of it is real. Like the moon at the very beginning, right? Like that's obviously a real one that an artist made and filmed in real life. But besides the real life film stuff, yeah, it's all modeled in ZBrush and Blender or Maya. It's not really real. Uh, sorry if that ruins the magic,
No,
but
no, no. It's
um,
there's a lot of game developer types in the audience, so there it's like it's cool hearing that like
okay.
totally respect the art of it, like the process.
Yeah, I actually wanted to like, I really wanted to like somehow do what you're talking about, like 3D scan it and all this stuff. But I I started talking about that, but then the team and the artist started telling me like that's not an effective way to do it. Like you're gonna like let me just do it and I'll show you. And I'm like, oh okay, yeah, you know what you're doing. I'm just gonna let you do it. If I remember correctly, it was something like that. Yeah.
I mean, the attention to detail on achieving the aesthetic is astounding because like there's close up shots where you can see thumbprints and little imperfections and chips and stuff like that. It really is a tremendous product. Um, how long do the artists spend on like a single character model of that of like Zach or Edwin's caliber?
I That was a while ago, but I remember like especially in terms of the character designs, they went through like a whole design process. We had various iterations on like even what the designs of the characters should be. So I remember, yeah, it did take a while to make them. Like not, I'm not talking about like a month or something, but I mean, it took a fair amount of time to make them. Yeah, a lot of the artists, Brian Allison, the character designer, put a lot of thought and effort and skill into it.
Yeah, it shows. It really does.
Yeah.
It's what drew me to the game at first glance. I mean, that's one of the things that people don't necessarily acknowledge about games all the time is that the visuals are so important for that first hook.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
it's the one thing you see in a game and then you decide to click on that screenshot or trailer or not. It can be pretty dang important.
Yeah, for sure.
Um, right. But you were talking a bit about the moon, and there's like other places where the I guess real slides in, like the cotton clouds, um, the I mean, if you play the prologue, everybody, it's available on Steam. But the latter scene in the dream sequence with the I guess Ouroboros snake, um, that real footage shots. Um, was that something that like when you were going into those scenes, did you know you wanted to break that sort of like not a fourth wall, but like I guess 3.5 wall, um, into like using real elements there to call attention, or like what's
Um, well, yeah, there is a thought process behind it. Like I think, I mean, I'm just a beginner at this, but to me, like I think to me it's important to have like a coherent like cosmology if you're making a story, like, a coherent worldview. Apparently even with, Japanese media, they even care about this way more than we do, or at least generally. But so like I was just reading a whole book about this, like what was it called? The Discarded Image. And like back in the Middle Ages, people were crazy about it. They did the most coherent worldviews, and it was so intense that I think I was reading even like Dante, he wrote the Inferno, right? And some people say that back then when he was walking down the streets, people wouldn't say, oh look, it's the famous novelist. They would say,
Right.
oh look, it's the man who went to hell and came back. Because the worldview was just such a part of their life, and it was such a part of like how they looked at everything.
The,
So uh so I think like it's very important that if you're doing things like you want to use a cool effect or a cool art style, it should all be around that worldview. If you're telling a story, at least that's what I think. I mean, that's just, I don't know. To me, that's what helps me the most to think about it that way. So yeah, there is a reason uh, why that stuff is the way it is. I mean, you could think about like, I mean, one thing you could think about is when at the very beginning the world of the future is shown to look like that, right? It looks realistic. It's photorealistic with the model of the moon and everything. And then the world of 20XX looks like looks more like a, obviously it's more CG, right? Because it's made with Blender models and ZBrush and stuff like that. So part of it is because the two worlds look different. Even the inside the spaceship, it looks more realistic than the world down on the surface. So that's part of the reason. That's part of the thinking about what's going on there. But also, I do personally like that style. Like, there's other creators that do stuff like that. Like I mentioned, Loveday Lick, and there's also games like Dujana that do like a similar kind of thing, which I personally, I just think it looks cool. So that's a plus, definitely. Uh, I don't know if that's how I think about it personally.
I mean, there is a nice curve between like tying time and fidelity together is a sort of beautiful concept, because like as consciousness grows and you learn more and you're able to it's perceive more and understand more, it's almost like the fidelity of reality itself becomes stronger anyway, because you can see more you can understand and think about more things at the same time. I'm talking about going from like childhood brain to teenage brain to adult
Yeah.
brain. You can take in a lot more information all at once, and that the fidelity of reality does get stronger. So the parable or the parallel between the two distinctions in the visual style for 20XX and 30XX is actually really kind of awesome. And
Yeah,
I like that.
like lots of stuff does this. Like, I mean, think about the movie The Dark Crystal. Whenever they show the evil bird guys, it's always like dark and blue and right. And then whenever it shows those, I don't know what you call those, the other guy, you know what I'm talking about?
The
Like
Gelflings.
have you seen? Yeah. Yes. Thank you. Yeah. When it shows the Gelfling, it's always yellow and
Yeah,
bright, right? So, and I mean, they didn't just do that because they thought, oh, I like yellow. They did that for a reason, right?
yeah. The,
Uh, you know, it. So yeah, that's you can even look at it in that simple of a way, that it's just it's just part of showing the contrast between two things.
Yeah, that's one of the things that I don't think I've ever been particularly good at. It's like it's a movie. It's an old cinema thing. Setting the scene, and it really like does play into it really well. Like you see any scene in the Matrix, it's the real world is got that bluish tint, and then
Yeah.
inside is the green, and these kinds of things. That shows a very cinematic mindset, and I mean it definitely shows in many aspects of the game. When there's important story beats, there's a lot of chosen angles and frames and uh, setups for the positioning of characters and staging. Do you have any film background, or is it just from a love of movies itself?
I have a I have a Canopy membership, which is like a streaming movie website. No, I don't have any like formal. No,
Sure.
I don't have. No, that's very nice to say, but no, definitely not. I actually just got into watching movies within the past few years. I used to not like them before that, but then I discovered, oh wait, there's older movies that are actually better than a lot of the crap that's out now. So
That's that's the thing about living in the modern age, is there's a wealth of
yeah.
long forgotten media content, whether it's books, movies, or music. Now games even
Yeah.
are starting to resurface.
Oh yeah, I can't wait for Starstruck to be well. I mean, it'll become a forgotten game immediately, but down the road it'll be rediscovered. See, that's really my long-term strategy here.
That's the real plan, is to become a future vintage.
Yeah.
You mentioned discarded images, and my second playthrough of the prologue is the first time I found I actually clicked on the trash bin.
Oh yeah.
And
okay.
And found the discarded images. I do.
Yeah.
I really enjoy. We all love the computer character. It's the,
really?
Yes, absolutely. Okay. Well made character. What why so when I see that you've gone ahead and made these drawings that the computer has produced, to give it so much extra character, and then on top of that there's the chat function, and then on top of that there's just like the base interaction stuff that the computer has to deliver to you for gameplay purposes or basic narrative beats or whatever. But like, why go through such why make that character, like the computer, such a strong character? And like, was that always a focus? Like, has it always been a pivotal thing?
Why make it a strong, like every character? I'll try to make every character strong. I mean, I don't succeed with all of them, but it's good to try to make. But I guess what is the point of putting all the work into that stuff? Maybe like
yeah. Do you like? What do you think do you think the payoff is there for it? Because I'm asking because a lot of times I will put, like, I just spent the last week working on one NPC in my game, and it's like 1/100th of players will find it.
Oh, okay.
And I very much deal in the world of like hidden buried content, and I see a similarity between that and the images in the trash, where I totally just didn't even notice that was there the first playthrough, but then when I found it in the second playthrough, it was really endearing, and it was like I went back every single time.
I'm actually one of those. I know like most people, not just like even game developers, most players, they love that hidden stuff that nobody ever knows about. I probably like that as a kid, but as at the age I am now, I don't know, for some reason that stuff doesn't do it for me personally. I know you just said you spend a lot of time on it, but for me, like, I feel like there's a certain nostalgia with it, but for like, I feel like sort of the age of that is very different now. Like, everyone just looks that stuff up now. Like, I mean, even if you think about like games like Undertale, it was very famous for having a ton of that, right? And then everyone posted it online, and if you look at Deltarune, it doesn't have any of that stuff, So and even with Smash Brothers, remember the Wii one, it had all the movies and everything that was supposed to be such a treat for players, and then
YouTube,
the direct Sakurai actually said we don't do that anymore because everyone just uploaded them to YouTube. And but I understand that is a huge thing for a lot of people. Like I mean, like slipping my mind, but even with games now, there are a lot of games that's their main hook, and that's why people love them. I mean, what's like the whole Frog Factions thing, for one example. But in that case, it feels to me like everyone already kind of knows about the surprise, so it's not really a surprise. It's just sort of like we're getting. I shouldn't be talking about this kind of stuff, but for me, it doesn't do anything. So I kind of try to. I try to make everything as obvious as possible. Also, because if someone didn't find it and I spent all that work in it, I wouldn't like that. But I know other people do like to do that. So everyone just has their own style. But for me, yeah, that's not my style personally.
I'm going to ask: have you had a change of heart recently about that? Because I'm very curious about the trash can secret. Providing that just point blank to players at the end. I mean, in exchange for an email is great method. But I'm curious because I mean, I assume at some point within the prologue's release, that was a totally hidden thing that you had to find all the trash cans for, and then you feed it. What was that
Yeah.
transition like?
Oh well, yeah. Originally, it was a secret. Like, well, it's still a secret, but originally, yeah, it was just a secret, and because even though I said all that, I still secrets are still fun. So you
Yeah.
can still have, I still want to have some of that. But yeah. Then after that, I was like, well, let me also add this. So yeah, I mean, I don't feel like totally extreme on it, but I'm not one of those people who's gonna put something that no one's ever gonna find. I guess there's a balance to it for me. I don't know.
Right. Like, was there a tipping point, or like, I know a lot of people like to look at like data on like what players are doing in their games. Were people finding the secret, or was
Uh,
it super buried, or was there anything in
well,
particular that prompted you?
when I first released the prologue, it already had like the alternate way to find the secret. Uh, it was a last minute idea, but it was still in the launch like version. So I don't have any data around that kind of thing.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Yeah, I've looked at data in my games, and it like makes me cry at how few people ended up finding some areas.
Oh really?
Oh, dude,
Oh
yeah.
yeah.
Like whole thirds of chapters just like played by 1% of
Oh
people,
really?
and it's like it's brutal. But like, you make these things, and you have some of that can be attributed to like poor design to choices, like dividing players, um or just like player mentalities all want to go this route or that route or whatever. But it can be. I was very curious when I came across that stuff, because it felt hit a little close to home.
Yeah. Maybe I don't know. Is this a good time? I wanted to talk about your game. Is this a good time to ask a
Sure.
couple questions?
Sure.
Okay. Yeah, because you're talking about how there's all these different paths and everything.
Mhm.
So I was wondering, like, you know, is it because I only played through the game once?
Sure.
Are there actually like a zillion different paths,
Yeah.
or is it like an illusion? Like there are.
I mean,
Okay.
everything's an illusion. But
Right. Yeah.
the game absolutely has a ton of different paths. You went through the second city. You got the job at the warehouse. What did you do?
In
Moving
terms of the
robots.
union thing.
Yeah, like you started that position moving boxes, right? And
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
so that scene, players start moving boxes, and then their own individual frustration starts to kick in, and
Oh.
it's at
Oh.
various levels for different players. And so some players, have a tendency to just keep going, and then they complete the job. And then there's another series of players that keep going, and then they see that there's a 2-digit counter on the wall, and they try and get it to go to 99 and then one more and see what happens. And that's a different
Yeah.
that's a different road. And then there's the people who like move 2 boxes and like, well, this is fucking dumb, I'm leaving. And then that's a different road. And then there's another split there where it's like, hey, do you want to go commit crimes with us? And you say no, and then there you go on that road, or you say yes, and then you go on that road. There's a lot of divisions in there. Of course, in the nature of interactive narrative experiences, you have to bloat and pinch, right? Everything does have to come to a head at certain scenes, but you can
Mhm.
take all of the variables that you've created through the bloat and change so much of what that happens in that apex moment, that it again bloats out into something else. And so that's why there's so many paths. And it's kind of like part of the reason why the game is so lo-fi is that it allows us to just create content like crazy without really having to worry about a lot of production. And so we can splice the reality in 50,000 different ways, without having to stress it.
That makes sense. Yeah, like because I was thinking about like how many different possibilities there are, and the one thing that kind of like is that you can obviously there's all the different characters, right? And
Mm-hmm.
you know, one thing is like I wanted to ask is like, are really all of the characters animated? Like they all have those unique animations for every single them. Was
It's
that a
fucking
nightmare? Or is
insane.
there some
Yes.
trick? Okay.
It's the true nightmare because it's also made in RPG Maker, which is not an engine that supports anything dynamic, right? So
Yeah.
if I in the new game because there's actually we expanded. There was 12 playable character no. Yes, 12 playable characters in the first game, and then we added 8 potential other playable characters in the second game. So there's 20 total characters, right? Across various races and genders. And then on top of that, they have different capacity to wear different clothing. So there's like your normal outfit, there's naked, there's in your underwear, there's wearing a towel, there's in your gym clothes, there's in your swimsuit, right? And then that's you want a character to walk. Okay, that's 20 times 7 animations. Then you want them to drink a soda. That's 20 times 7 animations. You right, so every single time you're adding something, it's like 200 animations, like that. It's a lot of work, and that's part of why the game took 6 years to make.
Well, I was wondering because I just I played a little bit. I haven't completed yet, but I played a little bit of the new one too. And I was seeing like, okay, like they're really like doubling down on this. And I was wondering like, I want to ask like, is there some trick you use to like make that manageable? But it sounds like no, just a lot of hard work.
It's a lot of hard work. We made the dumb choice of making about to get canceled. We made the dumb choice of making diversity playable, but it is a lot of extra work. As opposed to having one really well made character, or something simple. Jake, thank you, Jake, for reminding us. Also now in the new game, there's also save importing, which allows you to carry on all the data from your first game. It's just that is the burden that we chose for this game.
But that is sort of like the hook of the game, though, right? That is sort of like the special. At least to me, it felt like that's sort of like the thing that makes it stand out and make it really special. Because what stands out about the game to me is that I felt like I really had some kind of ownership over the story. It's sort of like if you're playing the Sims, right? You would sort of own all those little people's lives. You feel responsible. I felt a similar kind of feeling. So I guess it's sort of it's necessary to build that at the same time, right?
Yeah, you can't do that without providing a lot of option to the player. The player needs to have that sort of freedom. And that's also why I'm okay with having, entire branches of the storylines that like 1% of players have, because it's about the possibility space, right? When you exist in as a character in a game and you have a certain level of freedom and you feel like you are genuinely capable of impacting things, it is super, super satisfying. That is, to me, the most satisfying thing ever when I play games. And then if a game doesn't follow through, it makes the door you can't go into, the invisible wall, those things, like, be like, oh yeah, okay, I guess I think 2 steps ahead of the developer, and then I start to look down on the game. So I tend to brute force my way through it all when I get a chance. But that's
And did you see like I mean, I assume would you say that was like maybe like how do I say this, like the highlight for a lot of players? Did you see a lot of players like say like we love that, or was it sort of like something that maybe okay it was all right?
No, they well, a lot of players, I mean a majority of players, I'd say, only played it once, right? And I've seen weird accusations where it's like, this game is completely linear. I'm like, no, it's not. But you only played it once. But the thing is, the game, because it always respects the path you go through, right? It feels linear because everything's cohesive. But I mean, branching is as branching will be. Like, that's just the nature of the game. I don't know if I ever want to make another one like that, but they are fun. I'm actually way more interested in making games like Starstruck, which it has a very singular but like very powerful narrative that like gets something across in a cohesive manner, rather than making an entire playground for people to run around like idiots in.
Well, it might be easier. I don't know if it's easier, but that actually the kind of game that's more like a playground where you can run around. That's sort of like the trending style nowadays. On the other hand, right? Like narrative games are kind of becoming a little less popular. So
Oh, for sure. It's hard. I mean, like it. I've just been playing a ton of Hades, and like that is as it's got so much narrative packed in it, but it's still built and baked into this game that's like about this infinite play loop, you know, because that's really what a lot of the future of gaming is kind of coming down to on the business side. Not just let's keep people playing our game for microtransactions and stuff like that, but the longer more hours you get out of a player in a system like Game Pass or something will eventually equal more revenue given the way that the business goes. And so narrative games like the ones that we want to create are kind of in jeopardy. And I don't know
yeah,
what can change on the business side to kind of solve that, apart from let's just make stellar stories that people absolutely have to play through. Um, I don't know.
yeah. I'm with you on that. Yeah, I think if you want to make a narrative game nowadays, you better have a really amazing story if you want people to get excited about it because they're they're the it's harder for narrative games nowadays. That's so yeah. I spend a lot of effort trying to okay, how can I make the story even better? How can I make it well? Also because I want to have a good story, but also yeah, because of that handicap.
Yeah, it's. I mean, well, and then not to doom and gloom now, but then there's the other side where you'll have a Twitch streamer or a YouTuber take a beautiful narrative game, condense it down into a couple streams or a a couple videos, and then that's the entirety of the wealth just like blown on an audience of millions that doesn't experience anything. They have no reason to go get the game, and that's like where I mean I think we're saved a little bit by the variability in our games, but it's a huge risk when you want to tell a singular story, that these content creators are just going to feed it out to the audience public for nothing. um,
Yeah, there's a lot. There's a huge debate about that. I don't even know if I want to say anything about that because it's such a contentious topic.
Fair enough.
But yeah, it's definitely a something that's been on my mind a lot. Yeah.
It's I mean I have noticed like we just released a game called Karen and Outrage Simulator, which is very short.
Yeah,
um,
I saw this. I saw the Steam page, and I was looking like this, and I was like, okay, what's going on? And I scrolled down to the description, and the thing that I thought was hilarious in the features, it was like, learn the history behind Karen and why she is the way she is, or something like.
yeah,
It was the
you
funniest.
gotta go into the mind of Karen. But like of our games, that one has millions and millions and millions and millions of YouTube views, and probably more thanks to Twitch. Um, it has done well on Steam, but it has not done millions and millions and millions and millions of units, or even sales that would indicate that millions and millions of people visited that page. Um,
Yeah.
it's and it's because it is. I mean, as funny as it is, and as great as it is, and as much as people like it, it is a game with no variability. So I guess I'm curious. Have you brought anything into Starstruck to try and combat this, or is this something that you don't even? Fuck it, I'm just going to make the story I want to make, and hell or high water, it'll be what it is.
A little bit of that. I mean, obviously, if you want to, have lower risk, you wouldn't make a game like Starstruck. You would make, I don't know, maybe a city builder, or something. But so obviously, that sort of knew that going into it. But I mean, some people are, maybe they want to experience the rhythm gameplay. Maybe they want to. I don't know, like rhythm gameplay is something that is actually getting more popular nowadays. So maybe some people want to enjoy that. Maybe some people want to try out all the extra songs or something. But I mean, yeah, it definitely is a risk with this kind of game. I don't really know what else to say other than that.
Yeah. I want to actually. I mean, it's a good segue. I want to talk about the rhythm gameplay, and
Oh yeah, sure.
and the resurrection of my plastic guitar, which just happened to be literally right next to me when I found the
Really?
Steam page. It's still right here, but I have my good old Explorer. Is is
What are you adding? Like, are you adding guitar support to like Always Sometimes Monsters or something? What's going
spoilers?
on? Why is that just
Excuse
sitting?
me. I gave you an NDA for a reason. No,
uh,
I had repainted this room. I used to have it like mounted on the wall up there just for fun, and then I repainted the room, and then I never got to putting it back up, and it was right there.
okay.
But I have a couple of questions.
Yep.
Can you even buy a plastic guitar anymore?
So I remember like maybe around 6 years ago, you used to be able to, I mean, maybe you probably saw this too. You used to be able to see them everywhere in like Goodwill, like $10. They used to have stacks of them in Goodwill, but nowadays they're actually extremely rare, and they're extremely hard to find, and they're actually very expensive. Like if you go on eBay and buy one, it might cost you like $60-$80 or more.
Wow.
And that's because there's this game called Clone Hero that has become extremely popular, and it's a free game, and it's sort of like a Guitar Hero clone, and it supports this controller obviously, and it's extremely popular. So the guitars have become a lot rare, but yeah, it is still possible to buy one, but it is more expensive.
It's that's surprising. So I mean, I know that it is playable with the controller. Um, but I feel like the intention is that people will use the guitar controllers. So like how do you like plan for that? Like there are no new Guitar Hero controllers manufactured. So it feels like a big risk, but like do you think that it's just like a sizable enough audience of people in the Clone Hero community and or people like me who just happen to have Guitar Hero and Rock Band gear kicking in their closet?
Uh, well, the Guitar Hero controller support was something I added kind of late. Like, really, my first intention was the game for people to play with a controller. So to me, it's not like a core thing you need to enjoy the game. Like all the charts, I make them first with a controller. I don't design them for a Guitar Hero controller.
Interesting.
Yeah, so I don't think it's like a core thing you need, but a lot of people requested it. Like a lot of people really wanted to, not a lot of people, a number of people really wanted to see it, and it was actually pretty easy to do. So yeah, that's part of why I did it.
Interesting. Is it that's it's, I mean, it is. I'd say first the claymation got me to look at the game, and then when it said guitar support, that's what made me download it.
Oh, really?
That was the path in, because I mean, like all of the rest of it, you don't get to enjoy until you get into the game. So I mean, it's
Yeah.
for I'd say the indie community. I mean, it's got such a unique hook. Like, there's a ton of like there's a ton of risk in the project, but I mean, like the payoff is so tremendous when you actually like get into the experience that it's like, it's very worthwhile. I have some worry that like people are going to be, if I don't have a Guitar Hero controller, I've never, I'm a 14-year-old, and Guitar Hero was made before I was born or something like that.
Yeah.
Like what is this for them? And have you looked into? I mean, manufacturing things is impossible, I presume.
Uh, for me, yeah, that's a little beyond my domain. My uh, but I mean that might, no, that's beyond what I could think. I mean, I think that's why I sort of have this tension. Like I put it in the trailer. I want to show people like you can use the Guitar Hero controller, but at the same time, I don't want to make it think like you can only use the Guitar Hero controller, right?
Right.
So there is that trickiness, but It seems like it's been okay, but yeah, definitely. I kind of wish that they were still $10 at Goodwill, because that would make things more exciting, maybe. But yeah,
How long have you been working on the game?
a while. I don't know, maybe over 2 years or something like that.
That's good.
Uh, yeah, I'm glad you like it. Um, I don't. Did you have any criticisms about the game? Any things you did not like about it?
Oh, tons. Let me get my notebook. Uh, oh man, if I had to be brutal, um, I mean, it comes down to like personal taste in music, like whether you
Oh, I
like a
see.
song or
Okay.
not. Like there's some
Yeah.
songs I loved. There's some songs that were like, okay. Um,
Sure.
but that's just personal preference in the songs. I found I haven't played a rhythm game since Guitar Hero Rock Band, and the difference in notes coming at you versus you going
Yeah.
to the notes, that jump from screen to screen, from edge of screen to edge of screen, is a bit of a challenge. I really liked the you don't strum, you use that as different octaves, or however you want to call it. That was really clever. I did enjoy that gameplay a lot. It was hard, and I went in to master mode immediately, and I expected, because I'm like super pro, that I'd have no
Yeah.
problem. And I failed a couple times, and now I'm really mad, and I'd like to leave a negative review. Thank you very much. Um, but
Please,
no,
please don't do that.
no. The game is great. It is a great experience. I'm looking forward to enjoying the rest of it. Um, do we? I mean, it's such a bully question, but how long am I? How long do I gotta wait?
Well, on Steam, I mean, you're a game developer. You know better than to
Yeah,
how many
I know.
people.
It's my
You know
turn.
you
It's my
hate to
turn to
be
dish
asked
it.
this
It's my turn to
question.
dish it out. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. It's okay. So on Steam, the release date is marked as 2021, which I think some people see that and they assume like January
Yeah.
1st,
I'm familiar
2021
with
is
that. I'm
just gonna
familiar
like.
with that. Yeah.
I didn't know that was like a thing that people would assume that, but no, it's not January 1st.
No,
It'll
that's fine.
I don't really, yeah, I haven't narrowed it down any more than that at all. So
That's good. That's good. I was just giving you an opportunity to promote a release date if you had one. Just throwing it out there.
well, the release date of the prologue demo is now.
Yes, that's right.
It's it's on Steam now. So
Let me actually, you know what? I'm gonna drop a link while I can. But yeah. So tell me then, like, what is your affinity for the rhythm game? Like, where, like, there's a couple of different influences in there. I see the Guitar Hero Rock Band, but I also see Elite Beat Agents. Um, uh, those are the other two I see. But like, are there other musical game influences that, like, yeah, have you always played rhythm games? Where did it start for you? Do you
I've
still
never
do you
like
still play Rock Band and Guitar Hero?
no I like yeah, I always liked rhythm games. I was never like a super hardcore like rhythm game, person who could do like Through the Fire and Flames on like the maximum difficulty. Like I was never that kind of person, but I always liked it. And I think it's just something it's just fun for everyone, right? Like for some, like you can, if you think about an RPG, you have to, it's kind of like hard to explain why it's fun, right? Like it's so complex, right? But think about a rhythm game, it's sort of like one of the most basic forms of gameplay, right? You're doing something to the music and it's fun, right? Also, it fits with the story. Like, I mean, that was an important thing. Like, it was, part of it is I like rhythm games, but also part of it is that it has to do with the story. I mean, obviously they're musicians, right? And the story is about, their ideas, like creativity in the story, right? So that was part of it too. But yeah, I love Elite Beat Agents O and Don. I think those are some of the best games like ever. Those are just so good. And in terms of like Guitar Hero, actually, when I was thinking about rhythm games when I was starting to make some of the games, started to think about it, Parappa was the first rhythm game. And well, I mean, maybe there was some earlier one, but it was like the first real one, I guess. And it actually had the scrolling left to right thing. That's how that game worked. So I guess it's like it's like how it was originally done. Now then again, Parappa, I actually have tried to play Parappa. I think I tried to play it on like my Vita. Have you ever tried to play Parappa like nowadays?
No.
Have you ever done that? It's impossible to play. Like,
why?
it,
Just too hard? Or?
I think the Vita emulator is somehow messed up because nothing felt right.
Like it just doesn't match up to the music, eh?
Yeah, like it doesn't match up to the music. I think it was the Vita emulator. But I've also asked other people, like, is this how Parappa always was? And they're like, yeah, I never understood it. So maybe I have this conspiracy theory that like Parappa never actually was a rhythm game. It's just like looked like a rhythm game, and people just like assumed that their buttons were doing something. But no, that was one of the things I was thinking about with was Parappa, that it scrolled left to right, and also the idea of scrolling left to right. A lot of people, they think that is kind of weird, and I could see that. But also, I think if the notes were all moving and they were just all hitting the left or the bottom of the screen, you would never see, your eyes would not look around the screen. They'd be locked to that one part of the screen. And then you wouldn't see what's happening with the characters in the background, the character. Yeah. So that was a major reason behind that. And a lot of people suggested I change it, which maybe they're right. But anyway, the reason I didn't is because of that.
Interesting. And I imagine it would also make the upper and lower switching between them, that would also get a little bit more difficult. But no, that is a major difference, actually. Now that you bring that up, there's a huge difference between traditional rhythm game and this is that, like, there's whole narrative, like, not animatics, not the right word, like animated sequences playing behind the music. Yeah, wow.
Well, there is that in a lot of new rhythm games, like for instance the Project Diva games with Hatsune Miku. But they actually do a similar thing where the notes appear all different parts of the screen, and you have to like, it's sort of like Oendon, where you have to like hit them right when the notes are closing, but you do it using a controller. But they're also appearing on different parts of the screen because with that game, there's the main appeal is Hatsune Miku and all the other Vocaloid characters, so that's why they do it. They want you to see the characters going on in the background in these music videos that are highly produced. So, they imagine if they just had you staring at the bottom left corner of the screen while like there's these highly produced music videos. It'd be ridiculous, right? And there are some other rhythm games that do it, and when they do it, it's usually about the characters, I feel like.
No, it makes sense now that you explain it. I did not put 3 and 4 together. No, again, rhythm games are not my world. Like, I was very into Guitar Hero and Rock Band in the time, but all things get put in the closet eventually. I still have my hard drive full of.
But it's out now. The guitar's out now.
The guitar's out now. The guitar's out now. Will it stay out? Maybe I'll go download Clone Hero. Who knows? Forget game development.
Or you could sell it on eBay and get like $100 actually if you wanted.
Oh, now that I know it's worth something, I'm never letting it go.
Yeah. No, do not throw it away. You could sell it for a good amount of money.
Yeah, well, this is the only one that still works. This
in the world.
Yes, is the only. This is the last worker one, and I mean, I can't get rid of these stickers. I mean, I put these on when I was like 16, maybe.
Yeah, no.
No, I'm. This the little Guitar Hero 2 Explorer like held up better than any of my Guitar Hero 3 controllers or Rock Band. I have the whole set. I've gone through so many, and they've all got like some deficiency by them on them by now. But this one is the one that lasts. I don't know why.
It's the best.
It is the best.
I don't know.
Well built. Well, man, I want to thank you for coming on the show. It's been wonderful diving into both the art and the rhythm stuff, and some of the inspirations for the game. I've had a lot of fun. Is there anything you want to tell the people about Starstruck Prologue? I mean, other than I'll drop the link one more time. And it has been massive. Thank you, Minty. for everybody to go download. I highly recommend you give it a swing. Even if you watched my stream this morning, go and enjoy it yourself, because playing the sections is definitely different than watching them. But is there anything you want to tell the people about the game?
Yeah, go download it on Steam. It's free. I think it's a very generous demo. It's pretty long, and I'm still updating it and adding new songs. Like I just added the Halloween. Did you play the Halloween
Yes, we
song?
did.
Did you check that out at all?
We played all three.
What do you think?
We played all three of the free play. They were
Oh,
freaking
okay.
hard.
Yeah.
Wait, oh shit! Is it called King of the World?
Yeah.
The one with the alien on the cover. I like that song. I like that track. That was my favorite of the three. And then actually, was it Bob's Garage?
Yeah.
Is my second favorite. Halloween hit third place, but the both have good vibes, and like it totally opened my mind. I'm like, oh wow, there's going to be more songs available in the game, and like, you know, you can do what you will with that. Steam Workshop.
No, that's definitely an idea. That's definitely something I've been thinking about. But yeah, go if you're watching this, go check out the game. Go download it on Steam.
Whether you have a plastic guitar or not, give it a try. I want to.
Yeah.
I might go through it one more time just to play with the controls, and enjoy it that way. But yeah, tremendous conversation. Wonderful having you on the show. You're welcome back anytime. Let's see, gang. I'm going to throw you guys on the thanks for watching. I'll send you on a raid. Oh, and then tomorrow we are starting our game jam. So I'll be up and at it nice and early, 8 a.m. making games all day long. Cool. All right. Thanks for everybody. Thanks again for coming on, Max. And I'll see you guys tomorrow.